Those horror stories you heard about in the forest, they're true. They're all true.
Officials found a camera with this film in it, but no trace of the people.
We believe that there is a creature living in these mountains. And possibly a close relative to man.
We're already in Bigfoot territory, where all those people were killed. Not far from here, a motorcyclist was found. But there was no trace of the thing that killed him.
Bigfoot's not playing games anymore. Maybe next time he won't be happy just to scare us.
Oh my God, we are back with another episode of Grindhouse Chic. I am Robert Schneider, and as always, I am joined by Brian Baldwin and Matt Armstrong. Guys, what is going on? How has your week been?
Good. I was off for the week and got like nothing done. Other than that, pretty good.
Those are the best weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I had a surprise long weekend. We had a power outage at the plant and they couldn't get things back up. This was Friday, about an hour into work, and they were like, all right, see you Monday. I'm out.
I'm sure you said it just like that. I would have been like,
peace, motherfucker.
I would have been like, are you sure? Is there nothing else I can do around here that doesn't need electricity? And your bosses will go, no, Brian, that's okay. We'll see you on Monday.
I have a few ideas.
No.
I know what I can do.
Why are you taking it? Why are you taking it as a classic erotica? You are not, and you would never, ever be in a Wakefield Pool movie. Boom.
Damn. Fucking shots fired, Robert. Damn. I've been going through a rough time here. Hit me with that.
You know, you're going to be going through a really rough time tomorrow when the Grindhouse video store opens, and you'll be at work going, why isn't there another power outage today?
Yeah, you're right. That's damn. Yeah, I know. But one week I'll get to step foot in there. It'll be awesome.
Oh man! So
and I'll probably annoy them all so much that they will ask me to please not come back.
I've already talked to the owner of Grindhouse of how you're going to be in there every day begging for a job. We'll work for a free Blu-ray every week.
Dude, it's got to be nice for him though, because I guess they actually have a staff. It's not just him and his. Well, it's not just him running it anymore. So,
are you telling me that there's a bigger movie nerd in the city of Knoxville than you? Because
Mike's knowledge could blow mine completely out of the fucking water.
I'm
I don't know if you guys keep up with this YouTube channel, but he'll bring up these titles. He's like, I fucking love this. One of my favorites. Like, what the fuck is that? I have never heard of that.
Earlier today, I was watching a video of Quentin Tarantino talking about all the movies that he saw that were released in 1979. And I'm like, I can't remember anything I did in 1979 that didn't involve me playing with Star Wars action figures.
Was he specific? This didn't have any kind of like attachment to X or anything, did it? Because of the year, it was. He was
no.
randomly...
This thing was like a year. This was like recorded a year ago or longer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that dude. Listening to him, man, it's. Oh, sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying he's crazy with that. I've heard him do that a couple of times, and he'll just like pull these movies out from like nowhere and like break down specific scenes, and then he'll be like, "Oh, I haven't seen it in like 20 years though, so I could be wrong." But
it's like all of us are the made for TV, and in Baldwin's case, made for public access. movie snobs. Tarantino is like the widescreen version of us because he owns them all on 35, 16, and 75 millimeter and has his own fucking movie theater where almost every weekend during the midnight showing is one of his movies. That is the greatest ego trip in the world if you're a filmmaker. Come watch movies that inspired me and then will stay for more movies made by me.
You think he like sits up in the film room at the top and just watches people watch his movies?
Yeah, he probably is the projectionist for that. And that's what he jerks off to.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. He's just up there like
because
I like
you know
how
what?
that's his jerk off face.
you know what? You know what? For artistic interpretation, we're gonna say that is. But I just imagine that he has that sweet Tarantino laugh.
Yeah. He did the
Oh, that's funny. That's funny. So, I saw Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm going to say bravo to Sam Raimi for, in a weird way, connecting the Evil Dead movies to the MCU with the Darkhold.
I have not seen it, and I honestly didn't plan on it just because I didn't think I could follow it since I don't keep up with the Marvel Universe. I have been informed, though, you can go into this one completely blind, and it won't matter. So I have every intention of watching it.
And when you do, you will be maybe the only one or one of two who will want to applaud that there is an Earth in the multiverse where Grindhouse Video can afford advertising on the top of a taxi cab.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I mean Grindhouse Releasing.
No, I picked up on what you. Yeah. I remembered your message in the group earlier, and I was like, okay, I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah.
All right.
I was so excited. I want to yell the projectionist, rewind it for a second. I want to take a picture of this and put it on pause.
Yeah, I went in there remembering that you said that, and I was thinking, like, I don't even know what their logo is. And then as soon as it popped up, I was like, oh, yeah, that. But it was pretty noticeable right there.
Yeah. Hopefully other people decided to Google it and order some of their fantastic Blu-rays and not be disappointed that Death Game is once again sold out.
Did we all get a copy? Yeah.
Yeah, I got one.
Brian.
I know. I should probably just go. I'm gonna go beat off with Tarantino.
Hold on. Ryan, are you gonna beat off to Tarantino thinking about Tarantino beating off, or are you gonna beat off where you are Tarantino from his POV, a la being John Malkovich?
Yeah, there we go. Oh man, that's funny.
So I want to talk about a weird conversation I was having at work earlier this week. We were in our department meeting, and my boss brought up Pippi Longstocking. Do you guys know who Pippi Longstocking is?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, amazing character in a series of children's books that originated from Sweden. And all of a sudden I'm like, and some of them talked about the movie. I'm like, are you talking about the animated movie or the one that I think that was made in the late 80s, early 90s, or the original 1970s one? And someone said the 70s ones. I'm like, yeah, those movies were great. It made me a fan of Pippi Longstocking House. I think it was one of the greatest children's series of books when I was a kid, and loved the movies, which I don't think have a quality DVD or Blu-ray release here in the States. And it made me think it would be really interesting. I know Severin has their ironically titled Severin Kids line, where it's movies that are just really creepy or very horrifying, like When the Wind Blows, which is Threads animated, but with more British charm. Is that actually that a boutique label tackle the G-rated movies from the 70s? Because a lot of them don't have quality releases and will never have quality releases.
I could see that becoming a thing. And I know this is weird to mention, but there's kind of a big thing with like a lot of well, I'll say specifically punk musicians, because I know for sure that some of them have done this, where it was like this really big trend for a while where they would start these like children's music projects because they all started hitting this age where they're like, okay, I'm no longer drunk and doing fucking blow in restrooms every night. I have kids and shit now, and I want to make music for them. But it was really weird. It kind of seemed to be a thing that took off. So I know it's not at all connected, but for some weird reason, it's like I think it could happen. I think that could be a thing.
But I mean, all right, if you were someone like Vinegar Syndrome or Severin or Synapse and you were going to launch this, what would you launch it with?
Okay, so I've never seen any of the kids line from Severin, but I'm assuming it's not really stuff that appeals to kids, right? See, where I'm going with this is I don't think Vinegar Syndrome or anything like that would ever do it, because could you imagine how much attack they would get? Like, you sell kids movies and fucking Mary. Like my kid went onto your website to purchase Pippi Longstocking and ended up with Long Jean Silver.
That's funny.
So I think it would be a new label. I don't think anyone that delved into old hardcore titles should put their hands on Pippi Longstocking.
But again, I don't think, and that you mentioned there is a huge problem with that, but I think it's a problem that they are slowly but surely dealing with.
Mm-hmm. I was going to say, I just looked up the Severin Kids one, and it's actually its own website, severinkids.com. So it's
but here's the thing: none of those movies are for kids. Maybe the Peanut Butter Solution, if you are a teenager.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's just a weird movie, and it's a depressing one because it does involve kids getting kidnapped to be enslaved in a teacher's underground workshop or sweatshop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Have their hair be made into paintbrushes.
But the other ones, When the Wind Blows, and what's the third one?
Carnival Magic, which I don't know what that is.
It's an Al Adamson movie, and it's wonderfully weird, because it has a drunk man who works at the carnival, and he has a talking monkey. There is not enough drugs in the world to make that movie good, but there's enough drugs to make you go, Al Adamson was way ahead of his time. It's like he saw an episode of BJ and the Bear, which, if you are younger and don't know what it is, it involved a truck driver driving around the country with his monkey and being pursued by a sheriff who I'm pretty sure goes out of his jurisdiction in every episode to capture BJ and the Bear.
Are you familiar with that band Minus the Bear?
Yes, I'm very familiar with Minus the Bear.
Do you know that's how they got their name? Like, apparently one of the members of the band went on a date and they were asking him how it went. And he's like, it was like BJ and the Bear minus the bear.
That's a great story.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny.
So I'm trying to think of movies that I would do that with, and I'm having like a tough time. I feel like I've spent so much time in this world where it's just movies that kids would not watch.
But it's all right. So I kids, I want to say, exploit-mentaries. Like, I know Kino released The Late Great Planet Earth, but there was The Great Space Connection, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow, all these fake documentaries that explored UFOs, end of the world prophecies, things no one should be watching. But that's what I would start with, and then go like to Pippi Longstocking, which I'm going to guess for most kids, that was the first foreign film they saw. Like, it's like, these are Swedish movies, and it's just weird. A girl who lives on her own because her dad, who was presumed dead in a storm, was a king of an island in the South Pacific, and she had a horse and a monkey and 2 neighbors who went on adventures with her. And it made me wish I lived next to Villa Vacu.
I remember the first foreign film I watched, and it was in 4th grade in school. And I always think about this, about why we watched it, and I have no idea, but it was Red Balloon.
Oh, the Red Balloon, yeah.
It's like, why did we watch that? I think it's in like French.
Yeah, actually, that might have been the first French film, because I remember when I was a kid, I owned the book and I read the shit out of that book because I had a red balloon at some point, and that kid's red balloon went on the greatest trip of all time, and my red balloon just went up in the sky and probably got shot over 8 Mile.
I'm not familiar with it at all. I've never heard of that, actually. The Red Balloon.
It's on Criterion has it, and it's like a half an hour long.
Yeah. I remember watching it, and I was amazed because my book had come to life. And I'm pretty sure at that point I had not started reading. So that might actually be my first real memory. Fuck. But no, I mean, I don't know. It just feels like this is a whole market. Code Red.
It's borderline depressing, man, for a second.
No. But, I mean, Code Red recently released Chomps, which I think is a horrible movie, but I know one of our friends would think differently, but crud.
Chomps.
Yeah, go look it up. It's not a good movie. And they also released Puffin stuff. And Paramount just released Bugsy Malone. So there's obviously a market for this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just with the right label to put this out and actually do it justice.
Shout, maybe? Like Shout, if they started like a family line? Seems not too far out of the wheelhouse.
Shout has experimented with that. They put out something called Hey Kids TV. It was a DVD set that replicated a Saturday Morning in the 50s. I think I bought it, and I probably still have it somewhere, but it was just so boring.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Shout would go. But, I mean, actually, if they released like old episodes of The Electric Company and Sesame Street, which Shout did do in the past, I think that could spearhead this line. Just things that people are nostalgic for, but didn't realize they were nostalgic for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just recently realized I was nostalgic for, and I think I saw it in a sale, but Gumby.
Really?
Yeah. I saw it it was like the whole series on sale on a Blu-ray, and it was like super cheap, and I was like, oh my God, I gotta get this. I forgot all about Gumby. I just want to watch Gumby now.
All right. Has that ever happened where you found a show that you loved as a kid and then got it on DVD or Blu-ray many, many decades later, or streamed it and realized, what the fuck was I thinking?
Yeah. For me, this was a few years ago. And remember, I'm also a little bit younger than you guys too. But did you guys ever watch Turtles Coming Out of Their Shell? The musical? the Ninja Turtles musical?
Mm-hmm.
God, no.
Oh my God.
I need to see it.
You do, sort of, I guess. But like a friend of mine, this is again several years ago. I was over at her apartment, we were hanging out, and she's like, I have this like weird VHS of this Ninja Turtles musical, and my eyes fucking turned into stars. I'm like, oh my God, I remember that shit. And it was all coming back to me. What a fucking train wreck, dude. Like, I just imagined the parents in the audience watching this with their kids. You know, they're like, I'm going to get Johnny a fucking helmet for Christmas this year. This is the dumbest shit I've ever seen. It's so, but it is like, it's so funny because it's just so, you know, I think that was still in the 80s when that came out. It had to
No, that would have been, no, it must have been the 90s.
Matt, hit it. Look it up for us, maybe.
Yeah, Matt's our official researcher.
But anyway, yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when he said that, because I was so stoked just to get the nostalgia rush. I could not stop laughing. Like it was that bad.
Now, on the flip side, did you find anything that you liked as a kid and watch now that still holds up, and has only improved with age?
I'm just gonna say that this is 1990.
Oh, right on there. Okay.
Right on the cusp. It does look awesome though.
Dude, it's Splitter's parts. There's like this whole song, I believe it's called Skipping Stones or something. It's to die for.
They all have denim vests on for some reason.
Yeah.
That's the 90s. That's the 90s for you.
Oh, God. That's so funny. I can't personally think of any, Robert, that I haven't kept in rotation since being a kid. You know what I mean? Like some of my childhood favorites were bigger movies and stuff, you know, like Willow and shit like that, you know, and I've just kept them in rotation. Some of the like weirder stuff that I watched as a kid, but Wizards, Ralph Bakshi, like that's one of my favorites.
But anything from television?
I know one that did not hold up for me. I don't know if you guys are going to remember this when I bring it up. No one ever does, but I was like obsessed with this cartoon that I would always watch before it was time to get on the bus to go to school, called Bobby's World.
Yeah, it's Howie Mandel.
Yeah.
I like loved that show, and they just put it on one of the streaming services recently, and I was like, oh my God, I got to watch this. And I put it on, and it was like unwatchable.
Really? I do admit that I have not. Had you not said that show probably would never have popped in my head again. Yeah. I remember the images. I remember the characters. I couldn't really be specific on any episodes or anything, but yeah. Okay.
All right. So I will tell you the one show that is not available on DVD except for bootleg or streaming, but you can find it on YouTube, was the Beatles cartoon. I remember it's how I fell in love with the Beatles, and even as a kid, I knew they were cheesy and just full of bad jokes and puns. But when I watch them on YouTube, it's like I get that nostalgic wave of sitting on the couch as a kid and just looking at the television screen, eating cereal, going, "This is great." And because it had sing-along, I would learn the words to every Beatles song. So that still holds up, unless you hate the Beatles, and then you probably wouldn't want to watch it. But for me, it was like the Sid and Marty Krofft shows, which I loved as a kid because they were just so visually stunning. And as an adult, with the exception of the first season of Land of the Lost, none of them had good writing. It was just a lot of bad jokes that a kid would love and a lot of drug references that just don't go beyond the reference.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of shows like that. I mean, I can remember like when I was a kid, I would watch Nick at Night, or was it Nick at Night or TV? It was TV Land, and it was shows like, you know, Green Acres and Like he's like weird stuff like that that like, probably isn't geared towards like a kid, but I was watching it and like loved it. And I was just thinking about those recently and wondering if those were something that would hold up, but I can't find them anywhere.
You sound a lot like me, man. That's how I spent a lot of my time, like watching shit that like my parents would watch and stuff, but they were all into that, like those kind of family shows like that, like I Love Lucy and stuff, aside from like the couple of that were coming around when I was a kid, like Ninja Turtles and stuff like that. I've never really attached myself to a whole lot from my era, actually.
Yeah.
But
for me, God, I'll admit it. As a kid, I loved Hee Haw.
oh, dude, I was just about to mention that fucking show. My dad even had an old Bronco that he fucking named Hee Haw. Yeah.
Hold on. Was that old Bronco your mom?
Dude, oh God. On Mother's Day, Robert. Come on. Come on.
I ever since I've been concussed, it's been really hard for me to write jokes or even think about shit. The fact that I'm like boom, boom, boom on a cue, it means I'm coming back.
Okay.
I'm off
Sorry,
of
Mom.
Sorry, Mrs. Baldwin. I'll call you later.
Again, Robert.
After Brian's asleep. Oh, I kid. But no, Hee Haw was great.
Mm-hmm. That was a fun show for sure.
So one that ties into something coming out soon. I was super into the Munsters. Are you guys at all excited for this Rob Zombie Munsters movie?
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily say excited. Now, as I've said before, I know his movies are so divisive in the way of most either love them or hate them. I do like them. Mm-hmm. Even the really weird ones, I'm just like, okay. I wouldn't say I'm stoked on this one because it is so far out of his wheelhouse, but I am excited to see him tackle something that's not, a bunch of inbreds and stuff. So that'll be nice to see.
Yeah, I'm interested because he's apparently making it like PG. He like wants to hit a PG rating on it. So I'm like, is he capable of this?
Yeah, I mean, apparently he's a really huge fan of that show. So I mean, I can't okay, here's the way I look at it. Like, who else would handle that with that amount of love, Which I'm sure there might be people, but
So I have an issue. Did you guys see the pilot that was shot a couple years ago with Eddie Izzard?
I feel like I did.
It was a really interesting take on the Munsters. And like they actually called it something. It was like something Mockingbird Lane was the name of the pilot, and I just thought it was a wonderful take on it. And I'm really depressed that I'm never going to see a continuation of that. And I'm sure Rob Zombie is going to do something wonderful with it because I'm in the minority where I actually liked his first Halloween. I thought,
yeah, same here.
You know what? He took everything that came before it, kind of added a little bit more subtext to it, and created something wonderful and weird. Though he didn't explain how Michael was able to get that jacked while in the mental institution. I mean, I can see him getting muscles, but I'm sure at some point someone would have said, you know what? We probably shouldn't have let this psychopath who killed almost his entire family except for his sister and his mother get stronger than anyone on here. And then Danny Trejo's character went, nah, Michael's harmless. He just likes making scary masks.
I was just about to say Danny Trejo was like training him in the middle of the night.
We're gonna get out.
Gotta be tough, Mikey. Gotta be tough, Mikey.
All right, actually, I would love to watch that movie of this guy who just was helping this kid find his inner strength, only to be betrayed as he became the most notorious serial killer in horror movie history.
Nice form, Mikey. Nice form.
Oh, that's so funny. That I love Rob Zombie's Halloween. Love it. Halloween 2? No.
I don't hate it like a lot of people do, because I find it somewhat comparable. Because I mean, it's just let's just get in here and start killing some motherfuckers. It's pretty brutal in that way. But you do have those weird spots put in there with Sherry Moon and the white horse and all this like weird imagery that, that's kind of weird.
Well, it's like he's like, I gotta figure out how to get my wife into this movie. All right.
I think it's sweet that he does that. Like, if I was able to make horror movies, and I'd be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'll put my wife in there,
Oh no. See,
just me, huh? Maybe I just think it's romantic. I'm like, I don't look at the actual performance. I'm just like, how cute is that?
But let me ask you this. I mean, Sherry Moon is a good actress, but imagine if Nicole Kidman was Lily Munster. All of a sudden, it's going to go from a movie that's going to have a smaller audience to a bigger audience. Who's playing Herman?
Like, who's playing him now, or who do we want him to play?
Who's playing him in the movie?
I feel like I just saw this. Hold, please.
Our research guy's getting too slow, Baldwin.
Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Jeff.
Join us next week with a new.
Jeff Daniel Phillips.
Who the fuck is Jeff Daniel Phillips?
He doesn't look recognizable. He was in Halloween 2, apparently.
Okay, so I have no idea who Jeff Daniel Phillips is or Philip. Yeah, he could be replaced by Woody Harrelson, and guess what? Or Matthew McConaughey. All of a sudden, you got a bigger audience for this movie. This is why Rob Zombie.
I'm imagining Matthew McConaughey in that role now, and God damn it, Robert, I'm going to be so disappointed for the rest of my life because we'll never see it, and we should.
You know why? If Rob Zombie hired me as the producer on this movie, these would have been the conversations that we would have been having. Rob, your wife is great. But Nicole Kidman gets us another $5 million on this movie. Matthew McConaughey gets us another 10. And hear me out. Not Russell Crowe. Kevin. Whatever that show he's on right now that everybody loves, Yellowstone.
I've never watched Yellowstone. Kevin who? Who are you talking about?
Kevin Costner,
Yeah.
as Grandpa fucking Munster. And then all of a sudden, no. Then they're like, you know what? Kevin Costner would be great. But we need someone with brilliant comedic timing and can do funny voices. Adam Grandpa Munster Sandler.
I can see that.
It's too late to get this idea to the studios.
No. This is what's going to make our show go viral. That we're going to build an audience that they're like, these 3 yokels from all across America, and one who lives right outside of D.C. and might be a member of the deeper state. We're one step below the deep state. Yeah, we have, they can find $1 million ideas for movies. And do you know what movie could have used another $1 million idea?
Don't you dare say Night of the Demon.
Night of the Demon. I was telling some comedians that we're doing our show tonight, and we're talking about this movie, and they're like, Robert, what's this movie about? I'm like, you don't need to know what it's about. You just need to know one scene. Bigfoot rips the dick off a biker. That's all you need to say about this movie. Because that scene is the one highlight in a movie full of a lot of exposition and a producer that rightfully so made additional scenes to put in the movie to give us something to talk about.
Yeah. I'm gonna go back. You said it needed one more $1 million idea and not just a $1 million idea.
Come on. Come on. The $1 million idea was one fucking scene. Not many people have that moment where they're like, you know what? When Harold Lloyd hung off the clock in safety last, I can't remember, safety first, safety last. Mm-hmm. That was a moment of cinematic history. When Clark Gable turned to Vivian Leigh and said, frankly, Scarlett, I don't give a damn. That was a historic moment. When James Bond said, shaken, not stirred, historic moment. When Obi-Wan Kenobi said, may the Force be with you, historic moment. In Night of the Living Dead, that last poignant scene, historic moment. When Bigfoot ripped the dick off a biker, those guys might have thought of the greatest moment in cinematic history that would have probably been forgotten if home video wasn't a thing and the video nasties never became a thing.
Since we just jumped right into the dick rip, I thought that I thought that the little part right before that was like one of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like the biker gets off walks over to the area to go pee. The camera shows his face and then cuts down, and the Bigfoot is just like laying on the ground, like just getting like right in the mouth. I was like, oh man, he's gonna rip that dick off next.
I absolutely adore not our opening scene, but one close to. And I actually I'll definitely be in the minority. You know, the dick ripping scene is what most people discuss about with this film. I've found, but I found it to be amazingly outlandish in numerous different places. So my personal favorite scene, probably, of the movie, well, one of, is the couple making love in the back of the van, you know, and then the boyfriend gets taken, you know, by the Bigfoot, and it's like that. It's so long. It's so long. He's being drugged across the roof of the fucking van. The music's fantastic, and the woman's just sitting there, like either orgasming or silently screaming the entire time. We're not really sure. And then you just hear him in the background the whole time. Oh God. Oh. And just when you think it's over, nope, we're gonna fucking keep going. This son of a bitch is sliding down the fucking windshield, just mouth moving. I love when I watched this the first time. As soon as that scene came on, I was like, I'm fucking in. Now this thing better not let me down, because I'm in.
Okay. Do you think that was one of the shots the producers added later into the film?
You guys are going to have to educate me on this, because I have not watched any special features, so I would love to be informed about some of this.
So from what I remember, because I didn't watch the special features again, and I watched them when I first got the disc back in January. They made the movie. The producers didn't like the movie. They thought it was boring. So they added some things with the Bigfoot that the director, when he saw it, was like, this was not my movie. Now, I could be wrong because I might have been watching the film that time in a very tinted frame of mind, unlike today when I was stone cold sober from my one vice. And this movie entertained the fuck out of me, probably for a lot of the wrong reasons, and then with all the violent Bigfoot shit, just kept me in.
I've got to say that I'm sorry for you, Robert, because what a movie not to smoke to.
On days where I have stuff to do, like produce a comedy show and, get up and go to the grocery store. Sundays can be pretty taxing mentally. Pretty taxing. And I'm usually brain dead because the day before I might have drank a 100 milligram drinkable. And just went
all while coming off of a concussion. Nothing's going to keep our boy Robert down.
It's funny when one of my co-producers is trying to probably hook me up with some of the female comics on the scene, because whenever he's telling the story of how I felt, he's like a champ, he just bounced right back.
I'm imagining he says it like fucking Burgess Meredith and Rocky or something.
Man, if it was like that, I would have the eye of the tiger at that point. I would just have a Survivor cover band just follow me around singing that song all fucking day. As I go into a meeting, eye of the tiger. When I walk out of the meeting winning, Simple Minds there is with Don't You Forget About Me, so I just have that Judd Nelson moment where I go like this.
Well, I adore Night of the Demon, and I've been so excited to talk about this one. Honestly, I said it when I first got it, and I'll say it again. I do think that it is probably my favorite release of last year. Now, that does not mean it does not come with question about some things, and I had one specifically that I wanted to ask you guys about. Now, this is a very, very minute part of the film.
Get yours out of the way, because I've got tons of questions.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I'm sure I'll think of more, but I was rewatching this with a good friend last night who
Steve?
He hates Bigfoot movies. He hates them. And I was like, this is the one time, because we're having our weekly movie night. And I was like, I'm going to make you do this. It's my turn to pick. I think this is the only way you'll watch it, and I think you need to watch it. Anyway, I picked up on something that I hadn't thought about on any of my prior watches. So, they go to speak to that guy who lives in the territory where these Bigfoot sightings have been taking place. And he's kind of their only lead to figure out like what's happening, what's going on with all these, people coming up killed and stuff. And it's, your college group and their professor who are into this. And they show up to the guy's place and he's like, I'm off to a hunting trip. I can't talk to you right now. And then they just like totally make themselves at home and just set up camp. I thought that was just hysterical. They're like, well, he's gone for this. Just go ahead and put our tents up right here in front of his fucking front door, because that's not rude at all.
They were very presumptive on a lot of things. First of all, first of all, no college professor should endanger his students by going into an area where so many people have died and or have never been seen again. Second
Well,
of
they had the
all,
one girl that was there only to do the dishes and to clean things up. And if she finished those things, then she could have fun. So I like to believe she was like the disposable character in the back of all the munch. Like, we'll just throw Susie at it and then we'll run. We're good. But no, the actual question. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. I just had to mention that sexism that's brought throughout the entire film towards that one character.
Oh, Brian, before you do, one other thing. Obviously, the authorities did not go very far into the woods. Otherwise, they would have seen that shrine to Bigfoot. I apologize. Continue.
No. So there is when the guy's hunting and they're all staying around on his property, one of the guys hunkers down and he's sitting next to the professor. He's like, "Hey, I think there's someone in there." And it shows like a flash of someone in his cabin. Nothing comes of that. Right? Like, there's nothing stated about who that possibly could have been. They never see anyone else.
I think I assumed that it was the guy, the Carlson guy.
But he came. So, okay. I mean, I guess that's possible that like he snuck back into his house that was like, fuck, they're not leaving. And then like came back because he does come back out of the woods. I actually like that. I think that's a solid. We're gonna run with that because that's even funnier.
The camera just shows him walk to the backyard. Then when it cuts away, he like takes off and runs back into his back door.
I don't want to be in this movie.
I didn't. Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't. I guess it doesn't make sense that it would be him, really.
There are a lot of things in this movie that did not make any sense. Like, why would a father who was so devoutly Christian and prayed to Jesus for everything allow his daughter to have sex with Bigfoot? Non-consensual, I might add.
Well, did he allow her, or was that like she was being cursed because, well, they were being cursed, him and her both, I guess, I don't know, because she went to the pond with that boy Robert, like a little slut, man. She went to the pond and accepted those flowers. It was disgusting. Ugh. But because then he's like, God, why are you punishing us and all this stuff? And I think that's the way I interpreted it, was that she had sinned and that he was begging God for forgiveness, basically. But then she was cursed by the Bigfoot rape, right?
But no, because there was already a shrine to Bigfoot. You don't construct a shrine for a one-time thing. This was part of their religion. You had guys with robes. When you have white guys with robes, you know nothing good is going to happen.
Yeah, and Crazy Wanda was the one on that slab. She was about to get taken. Yeah.
She did get taken. She had Bigfoot's baby.
Yeah, but that's later, right? No, this movie is a mess. But again, like you said, Robert, I think it's just a lot of it's there's so much stuff to keep you going. I don't feel it's runtime personally, even though I know in the back of my mind that I probably should, because there's a lot of stuff that kind of drags on. But I just find it so weird, and I think the music really is something to discuss in this one too, because it's like this really weird, like synthy, keys and stuff going on, just like kind of spacey sort of music. Yeah. That's just like, what?
I like the soundtrack, but hold on, I want to go back to a Wikipedia article. Following the film's completion, a small showing was held largely for cast and crew members, which led to a second screen at a local Los Angeles film festival. After the film performed poorly with audiences at the festival, producer Jim L. Ball shot numerous gore-filled sequences to insert into the film, retrofitting in a way that each of the graphic murders are told through flashback and serve as the anthropology student's impetus to capture the Bigfoot. According to the director, he had no involvement in the filming of these scenes, and his original cut of the film was much more tame. The final sequence in which the Bigfoot murders the remaining students in the cabin was filmed at a makeshift studio in producer Ball's garage in Los Angeles.
In his garage?
Yep.
Nice.
Yeah, those
All right.
those students are actually dead in real life.
So just think about this. In the
Fail.
in,
Nobody
in,
left that
in,
garage.
in the multiverse right now, there's another Earth where they only saw the director's original vision of this movie, and it went down in history as a forgotten failure, only to have dreams about another world where Bigfoot rips the dick off a biker.
So that
It
actually
makes
one of my questions. I was wondering, like, what class is this where this teacher's handing this thing out and he's like, this woman here wants to talk about this case we're working on, and I was like, what class is this?
It's an anthropology class, which has no bearing on this thing, on this case, which they shouldn't have gone to investigate in the first place, because I'm guessing this was only a community college. This guy was doing whatever he could to get to a 4-year place where he could get tenure and published.
I did there was one again, a small little detail that I wanted to ask you guys your opinion on. So when I watched it with Steve, since he doesn't own the disc, we watched it on Prime. Do not recommend, by the way. It's a very terrible. There's no restoration on it. It looks awful. But there was also a really small little moment that had been removed from it, which when I seen that it was removed, I was like, it's probably a good reason. It didn't make any fucking sense to be in the movie. When the guy, when they're on the dude's property, and I'm sorry, I don't know any character's name in this movie, even though I've watched it several times. It's just never really been a point of mine to remember their names. But the one guy goes to his house in the middle of the night with the bottle of the whiskey to like try to get him to talk and expose some stuff, let him in on some things. And there's this small detail where they hone in on an ashtray, and he, asks him if he smokes. He's like, "Oh, I don't smoke. I had something wrong with my heart, blah, blah, blah." Well, if I remember correctly, in the Severin release, he takes some of those butts and like sticks them in his pocket and shows it to the people in the tent. That is not on the Prime. Again, it has no merit to the story, because in the Severin cut, he pulls. He's like, he said he didn't smoke, but I found these. Okay.
Well, wasn't there a guy that was smoking those? I can't remember who that guy was.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
It's pretty common this happens, because they just have
No, Matt, I think you're right. I'm sorry, Robert. That just dawned on me, though. Was it one of the cops? Like when they were at the gas station, it closes in on a cop twisting a cigarette. Fuck, I never put that together. Still, I don't really know how it makes sense.
That must be who was in the cabin.
Okay, now the plot thickens.
So this might have been a plot line that was dropped from the final cut of the movie. Huh. Now I want to see this travesty that was probably not known as Night of the Demon.
Yeah, the cop came in his back door and then he left out of his. I don't know. I was trying to.
Speaking of that scene, did you think it was weird when the guy's name is Carlson, by the way, the old guy, when when the guy came up to his porch to like offer him the whiskey and stuff, Carlson like opened up his front door and it was like UFO abduction lights coming out of the door behind him. It was like super bright.
Hey. That's funny. I didn't really catch that.
Sorry. Night of the Demon.
So much stuff.
1 hour and 36 minutes. Now, let's look at James Watson's filmography. Let's see. He made a movie called What the Big Boys Eat. It's Dick, by the way. It's Dick. Chip Off the Old Block.
Talk about it.
What'd you say, Matt?
I said tune in next week as we talk about what the big boys eat.
It's just me with like a crystal splatter in front of me.
Oh, well, let's see. It stars Kip Astor as construction worker, Scott Avery as construction worker, Paul Barisi as trucker, okay, Billy as construction worker, Cartwright as construction worker, Dewey, director assistant, Dub, trucker, Ham, construction worker, and Chad James just didn't play anybody, but he was there. Neither did Lance.
So the answer is legitimately Dick. Is this like a...
Yeah.
Yeah. This last movie was Island Heat. In 1989 with Bo Beaumont, Michael Braun, Tony Davis, Steve Kennedy, Matthew Marks, but he played with Mark Boulder, and Hans Mueller. Hans Mueller. Yeah. So Night of the Demon. Night of the Demon might have been this guy's only legitimate mainstream movie.
So who was it then? And I'm sorry if you said it and I just didn't catch it. Who was it that put in the gory scenes?
The producer.
Okay, who is?
Hold on.
That is Jim Ball.
Jim Ball.
Jim
Okay.
L. Ball.
Do they have any clout?
The only other things he produced was a movie called Slumming and
I
Uncut.
believe it.
Uncut Club of Los Angeles, the Foreskin movie. Huh.
Is that a joke?
No. But
God.
I think it might
Holy
be
shit. I'm glad I drink cheap whiskey because I spit that fucking everywhere. God damn. Okay.
He also produced a movie called. He also produced a rope. I think okay. All right. He also produced. Male-orientated classic erotica.
Okay. Gotcha.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense though, knowing that, because you're just watching like these. It's like even like the not the opening scene when the poor bastard in the middle of the woods gets killed, but when you got the shot outside of the community college, as Robert put it, and there's like Mary Tyler Moore music playing and all this shit, and then you just cut to these like very vivid graphic scenes. It makes a lot of sense.
It
I'm
also
also a little sad though that it didn't come from one mastermind.
it also explains some of the weird camera compositions. When you don't see the mouths, you just kind of see the close up on the eyes, and in one of the most awkward scenes about having sex ever, of all the things they're gonna do. And
Wait,
I'm
what?
like-
Which scene are we talking about?
with I don't know any of the characters. They're outside and they're talking about their plans of how he's going to be rich when he graduates, and they can travel together.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was like this guy might have been the person who invented flexing.
Oh, I think a lot of my love for this one too is just the setting. I am such a sucker for like camping style horror films. I just love them. So yeah, I thought that was pretty cool. The flashback scenes I thought were just kind of random and funny. I enjoyed those as well. But
That was one thing about this movie. Like Robert said, with all the exposition, I felt like there was like exposition inception going on, where it's like the movie starts with the guy telling the story, and then within that story, like the one guy's daughter starts to tell a story, and then I'm pretty sure during that story someone else does a flashback to another story. So it's just like
Mhm.
story within story within story. I'm just like
I love the
I
patience of
follow
the
along.
doctors and stuff at yeah.
Yeah.
I love the patience of the doctors at the beginning because they clearly, according to their dialogue, you got the professor laying in the bed with the bandages over his face and stuff. And
Was
like,
it
oh
the,
yeah, we want to hear your story. Oh, I want to tell everybody. I
Yeah.
want everyone to know. How many times did they have to listen? Because I think about it, because of course at the end of our film we go back, to the professor,
Mhm.
and they deem he's just crazy. It's like, how many times have you guys listened to this hour and 36-minute long explanation of what happened?
So I have to ask, because now that you mentioned it, was it the same actor who played the professor as the guy in the bed with the bandages covering his face?
I don't think so. Was it?
I don't know. It's just occurred to me that that might have had been a different actor playing him, because you wouldn't have to cover your main actor's face from the
Well, his
Bigfoot.
face was covered. His face was covered because he got his face burned on the stove.
Yeah, but also that was a reshoot scene. Because
True, that's true.
because I have a feeling the movie wasn't shot in as a movie wasn't shot as a flashback. I think they had to do a framing device to make the story and the reshoots coherent. So they had the narration of the guy telling the story.
I feel like that would make much more sense
Mm-hmm.
as to why it's the way it is.
But here's the thing. It's a fun movie. It's the kind of movie you have when you have to show when people are over and go, you want to see something really fucked up, and you play this movie. In fact, I wish I had it on VHS just because that one scene would be so worn out.
Yeah, I mean, I like the. I don't know if you necessarily meant it in the way that I do, but like when the thick of the story with Crazy Wanda and stuff starts coming around, and you see the flashback with her and her father and all that, and just how delusional, I guess is one way to take it, the whole situation was. And then it's like this fucking layered cake. I know that's so corny to say, but it just keeps getting harder and harder to watch. It's like you see him lashing her, and then she's pregnant, with the child, and he's got her carrying wood inside, and then it just keeps getting heavier and heavier, and it's just like, and I do have to admit, that whole segment, I didn't find myself smiling. I didn't find myself really chuckling at anything. I was like, God damn, this is a fucking Bigfoot movie. It's raping people and shit. This 15-year-old girl, and like, it was really heavy, which is one of the reasons I do applaud it. And I'm so glad that you guys informed me of the background of the movie, because every time I've watched this, it's been like, man, this is such a hodgepodge of like so many different angles on how to make a horror movie, and it's just so it's got a little bit for everybody.
It is the Russian nesting doll of Bigfoot
Yes, good way to
exploitation
put it.
movies.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I always think about what movie to do as a double feature for this one.
Mhm.
So I'm not going to do it as a double feature. I'm going to do it as three things. The first part, the original episodes of the $6 Million Man where Bigfoot appeared, because that is where Gen X and young millennials all discovered the Bigfoot was that show. Nothing else. That's what made you Bigfoot crazy. The second feature would be Night of the Demon. Then right after that, you would find it on the Vinegar Syndrome All Night at the Pono Volume 2, The Geek, which is the greatest Bigfoot fuck film ever made.
Shit, I haven't watched that in so long, and I was super fucked up when I did. So I
So is everyone involved in the making of that. I used to have a joke about that movie in my set. I might bring it back this week.
Do you want to share it with our audience?
I don't remember it right now. I'd have to actually go watch a video of myself performing it and go, oh yeah.
I did love the. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were finished. Go ahead.
I was finished. I was like, ugh.
Oh, okay. I was just gonna say I love the sleeping bag death scene. Total Friday the 13th there. Just a little spin on it.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a fun movie. I'm glad Severin released it. Otherwise, it would have just been a curiosity because it would never be a movie that I would seek out. Like, if any other label probably released it, I probably, unless everyone I knew highly recommended it, it didn't seem like a movie I never needed to see. Because a lot of these banned in England movies, the video nasties, they're not good movies.
Mm-hmm.
They should have been banned for a whole lot of other reasons than maybe making kids go insane or thinking this shit is real and they could do it. No, these were just bad movies.
Would you say this is your guys' favorite Bigfoot movie?
Suburban Sasquatch.
or the film that sadly redefined Bigfoot as a comedic numbskull sidekick in Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. And when I was a kid, I found that movie terrifying. That was like a horror.
Oh, really?
Movie when I was a kid. I thought it was real.
God, that one just brought back. Now this is kind of harkening back on the conversation of things we watched as a kid that we thought were great. So I do remember Harry and the Hendersons was on constant rotation in my household, as was The Purple People Eater. You guys remember that one?
No.
Yeah. I should revisit that one. Something tells me it doesn't hold up.
You mean they made a movie based on the song?
There was a one-eyed one horn. Yep.
No,
It fucking rocks, man.
There are two great atrocities that any filmmaker should never ever make. One is you don't make a movie based on a ride at fucking Disney World. Never ever do that. Sure, Pirates of the Caribbean is a multi-billion-dollar franchise. It doesn't matter. It's based on a theme ride. The Haunted Mansion movie. Deservedly a flop because it tried to create a story based on the Haunted Mansion that already has a story when you walk in the doors and the narrator tells you everything.
I have an exception, and this is just because I'm a Disney World nut. There was a Muppet Halloween movie that came out last year that was shot in the Haunted Mansion, which is one of my favorite rides at Disney World, and that movie is adorable.
No.
I think it only kind of like works if you're like a really big Disney World person, but
No.
I like how you're just telling me no Brian.
Look,
No.
Brian, there is a book out there called Robert's Rules of Order. And basically it's a book that it's been the basis for parliamentary procedure for centuries. Or whenever the book was published. And you know what? I am a Robert, and my first order is that I rule.
Okay. Well,
and you know what?
if it's in a book.
If I was an 80s cop with my own franchise, that would have been my catchphrase. Have you ever read Robert's Rules of Order? I didn't think so. First rule that you follow. First order. Fuck it. Fuck it. The audience doesn't deserve my genius right now. It's all right. All right. So, Matt, I'm going to ask you to go first. How many rip dicks would you give this movie?
You know, I might be in the minority here. But as Brian said earlier, he wasn't aware of the runtime on this because it seemed like he was enjoying it so much, but I was very aware of this runtime because I was just like, where is this? What's going to happen here? I mean, the last like 10 minute segment definitely brought the score up a little for me, but yeah, I don't know why, but I just could not get into it as much as I wanted to. I'm going to go 2.5.
Wow.
In the last 10 minutes brought me up that extra half star.
Okay. Brian, how many rip dicks would you give this movie?
I think I'm going to go with a 4. I have only watched this one by myself, except for the viewing last night with Steve. And for whatever reason, it kind of, I think I used a similar term with whenever we were reviewing X. It just kind of checks off all my boxes that I look for in these types of movies. And to me, it was a sort of genre heaven for me, even though it didn't, some parts didn't make sense and a little bit of a mess. That was part of the joy of it for me. If you're looking for like grade A filmmaking, this isn't going to do it for you. But I think if you're into sort of like, film anomalies, I think this one might scratch an itch for some folks. And I was one of those. So yeah, I would go with a 4. I think it's a really solid film. I think it's definitely a good time to watch with your friends. And it's also a good background film, I think, as well. But yeah, I'll go with a 4.
Okay, so I am going to be a little bit weird on this one. I am going to give it 2 ratings. The first one is a 1 because the filmmaking was shit, the acting was shit, the story was subpar. For an hour and 36-minute long movie, it felt like it was 3 hours at some points in it. Then I have to give it a 5 for the dick ripping scene. It's fucking genius. If the poster of the movie just said, "You'll never believe what Bigfoot does to one guy's dick," every guy in the world would go, "I need to see this movie." And it would be the film that, will be lauded for centuries as a film that sent a message against male aggression. Bigfoot is the hero future generations will need. They will ignore all the horrible stuff that Bigfoot did in this movie, but it will go into the reshoots of how the producer was a man way ahead of his time, which means they will film nerd the shit out of this movie for what I just think is the greatest exploitation moment in film, period. Nothing can beat it. Because when you have to describe the movie, that scene is the one that you're like, I'm down.
I've watched this one, as I said, a few times before. And, I just lied a minute ago, actually. I did watch it one other time with a friend, but he's really into this shit. And I decided, I was thinking about it because I talk to him about a lot of movies, and when you're talking to your friends who are like kind of into this stuff, so you don't want to like bore them. You're like, oh, I know it's going to get him. So I decided when they explained the movie, he's like, well, what's it about? I was like, it's a Bigfoot movie. It's blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay. And I was like, I'm just going to leave the whole dick ripping scene out. And of course, that was his favorite when that happened. He was like, holy shit, I've never seen anything like that. And it won him over. I do think it's funny though, like one thing. So Steve, he is totally anti Sasquatch movies. He hates them, again, as I said earlier. But I think it's funny, like, I've noticed this trend that if you tell someone, like, oh, I watched this Sasquatch movie and I really liked it, like, oh, do you seek those out, huh? You look for Bigfoot movies? No, not really. But it's weird, right? Like, I think that's the thing. I've been asked that like 2 or 3 times if I've ever, like, Suburban Sasquatch, if I tell someone, oh, you need to watch this movie. Oh, you like Sasquatch movies? No, like, not, like, I don't know. It's like a weird thing. It makes me. It reminds me of like being brought up Catholic. It's like, oh, what church do you go to? I'll go to Our Lady of Fatima. Oh, you into Catholic stuff, huh? I don't know. I'm fucking go there. Anyway, I know that might sound weird, but I think it's like we're lumped into a pool if you like a Sasquatch movie.
You know what? It's a genre that I really thought there'd be a lot more movies on it. I'm not talking about like the cheap stuff. It wouldn't be a movie. When I think of Sasquatch movies now, I think of something Sean C. Phillips would star in.
You're not wrong.
God, I hate that guy.
There's a really I don't pay enough attention to him to really have an opinion.
Dude, he's pushing 40. Move out of his parents' house. Move the fuck out. You probably make good YouTube money. Move the fuck out.
Maybe they get along really well and the food's good there.
It doesn't matter. There's a point.
There's a fun found footage Sasquatch movie though called Exists. It's pretty good.
Do you guys
this is full of a bunch of typical jump scares, but it's pretty fun.
You guys ever watch the Bigfoot hunting shows like on the various cable channels?
I mean, I've seen episodes of stuff, but I don't follow them very much.
But you've seen one episode, which means you've seen them all. Guys in tent.
Yeah, they all. Yeah.
What's that? What's that? Our sensors went crazy last night. Larry pissed himself. And while there aren't any footprints, we think we were visited last night.
Oh, speaking of footprints, there's a really subtle, funny moment in Night of the Demon where, in that opening scene where we have that camper's blood fill up like the huge footprint. Well, later on when our students' boat has been taken and they find the footprint next to it, they're like, I think there's 2 funny things here, because one of the guys is like, must have been something huge, like an elephant, But anyway, it shows the footprint, and the professor has his hand in it, and it's like the exact same size as his hand.
Hold on. Brian, let's give it up to the professor.
All right, Robert, that was a good one.
For those of you who didn't figure it out like Brian, that was a dick joke.
That was a dick joke. Uh-huh. Oh, now to entice people who have not seen Suburban Sasquatch and to make you more excited, Robert, since you ordered it, Suburban Sasquatch is the only Sasquatch movie I've ever seen with Sasquatch dick.
Okay.
Hold on. You're forgetting the geek.
Oh, again, I can't remember. Sounds like I dodged a bullet.
That had Bigfoot dick going into human vag.
Okay, well, Suburban Sasquatch isn't that crazy, but you'll still love it.
Yeah. Look. You know what? Again, trying to figure out what movie to pair these with is a hard chore. This time it was just easy. The Geek.
Have Have you guys seen Willow Creek?
I haven't, but it's funny that you say that because I've these guys that have Robert and stuff that I've been talking to for quite a while, they know I'm like, for whatever reason, really into found footage shit, even though most of it sucks. It's kind of one of my favorite pastimes, just to turn off the lights and watch that shit when I can.
Says the guy who did not like Lake Mungo and thought Megan is Missing is a good movie.
I said I think
Megan
that's what I expected Lake Mungo to be.
Yeah, a poorly constructed film? Is that what you wanted Lake Mungo to be?
Lake Mungo bored the shit out of me. I appreciate it for what it is.
Lake Mungo is one of the best found footage films. Exclamation point, even bigger exclamation point.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'd rather hit my balls than watch that one again. I really didn't like it, but that's okay, right? We can have these discussions. We can have some fun. Megan is Missing is atrocious acting. It's absolutely horrible, especially the male characters in there. You just want to fucking kill them all. I just found it to be way more believable, and just it had a harder hit to me than Lake Mungo. Lake Mungo was like, oh, we think we found something. Zoom in on a picture 3 times. I seen it the first time, but we'll go ahead and zoom in again. Well, just in case you missed it that time, we'll zoom in again.
That is called Australian or New Zealand artistry.
Okay, well, Australian horror movies generally hit home with me. I've seen quite a few, and that one just did not. No.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know, man.
But that's okay.
I don't know. I question you right now. I question your commitment to my vision.
I'm sorry I don't fit into your vision. Thank you for squeezing me in though for a little bit on Sundays. I appreciate that.
Oh man! Speaking of what movie shall we discuss next week?
Oh, I feel like Brian should pick one this time.
Ooh.
Pick one.
You guys in the mood for anything? I'm unfortunately not around my movie shelves, so I don't have anything to look at and be reeled in by.
I have a thought.
Of course you do, Robert. No, I'm just kidding. What is your thought?
Hold on, I'm gonna go use the old Google phone, well, the old Apple Safari phone, because that's what they should call the iPhone, the Safari phone. Actually, no one would use it that.
While you're looking, I just want to say I'm glad you turned me on to Severin Kids here, because I'm currently ordering the peanut butter solution.
Yeah, I've never watched that one. I've heard so much praise about it. I've never seen it.
It's weird for sure.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. That's what I meant by praise. People saying it didn't suck. Okay.
Yeah.
If you guys have it, I want to go explore an older title that just recently got a slipcover. Don't Answer the Phone.
Yeah, great movie.
I've got it.
Cool. I would love to discuss that one next week.
So
I'm down.
Next week that'll be the 15th. Okay.
Yep.
So it looks like we still have 3 weeks before we can talk about the sale, the countdown to the sale.
Yes, we will talk about that. And we'll talk a little bit about it next week, because all of our episodes will be up this week, because I can stand to look at a computer for more than 2 hours a day. Hey. All right, we'll be back next week as we talk about, why can't I remember the movie we just said?
Oh my God, it was your choice.
I'm
Fox
so
and the Hound, Robert.
Yes, I'm so fucking tired.
That was good.
because
I'm just playing.
I got up at 6:30 in the morning because for the second day in a row, my favorite neighbor couple were outside my window having an argument.
Oh God, I do not miss that lifestyle. Fuck
The-
that shit.
Yesterday, they had an argument in the morning and then an argument in the evening. It was like they wanted to bookend my day with their trivial stuff.
Was it like juicy stuff? Do you want to air it out on the?
You know what? I could talk about it because I don't know them. She's not paying her share of the rent. She loves him. And he goes, if you love me, you would pay your... He isn't wrong. I just wish they could have this argument with a much lower volume.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should just start having these discussions outside of their window. You can put a little lawn chair out there, build a little fire.
I don't know who they are, but you know what I do? I respect my neighbors by not being loud and obnoxious, except when recording my podcasts. And that
I remember I felt so low one time when Rachel and I were still living in an apartment, and these our upstairs neighbors, they had like what sounded like a fucking like gaggle of kids, like at least a dozen kids, right? But they would fucking scream playing this video game like all night. And one night I had my headphones in, I'm trying to watch a movie on my phone, just zone out, not keep Rachel up. And I could hear them over that. And I totally pulled the typical card. I grabbed a broom. I was like beating it on the ceiling. And they'd stay quiet for a second. And you could hear them because those walls and floors are super thin. I could hear them like, oh, see, yeah, we need to quiet down. And they'd start right back up again. And I found myself one time like 4 o'clock in the morning, just shut the fuck up, just like totally unhinged. I went Nick Cage on the floor. And yeah. They didn't make any noise after that. So at least that night, the next night I started up again. But fuck that shit, dude.
When I lived in Kansas City, I had these upstairs neighbors who on Saturday night, Sunday morning, like to have the carnal knowledge of each other. But one time...
What an elegant way.
One time, as they were making the sweet love, she was moaning loudly and very fake, and he could not get it hard to pleasure her, which led to a very humiliating argument for him where she metaphorically pulled a Lorena Bobbitt.
Oh.
Metaphorically.
What would that be? What would that entail?
Just a lot of harsh words about his shortcomings. And let me tell you, he had many. Which included the size of his manhood.
Did she say at any point, I would pull a Night of the Demon if I could get a hold of it?
No, because if she did at that point in my life, I would have no idea what she meant. Which meant I would have missed out on a woman who definitely would not have been my soulmate. But yeah, this guy had many shortcomings. Many. Let's just say
It sounds like she's a bit mean too, right? Let's make a
you know what? She was making some good points. And I'll tell you, it was a huge ordeal for me.
It wasn't huge.
To not
We've
laugh.
already established that.
No. It was a huge ordeal for me not to laugh when I saw them or him by himself. He has to know that my bedroom was directly below theirs.
Yeah, I feel like I would have moved out of that apartment the next day if I was in it.
I couldn't because I knew at some point in the near future she was going to be single. And I would be there for a shoulder to cry on. Because I agree that he had a lot to work for, that he wasn't living up to his potential. That his job as an assistant manager or wherever he worked wasn't going to pay the bills and help them.
You got some juicy details. his job as assistant manager at Costco off Westland wasn't working out for him very well. And
It seems like a weird thing to bring up in that particular argument.
Dude, they had so many arguments, but that was the only one that was during and post sex.
oh god.
Oh man, we got on some weird tangents.
Yeah, and I'm just gonna tell you, she was also a terrible singer. She liked to sing along to the yeah, yeah, yeahs a lot.
Oh Jesus.
She was ruining those songs for me. But now, and she actually has, because whenever I hear them, all I think of is her.
yeah. Shut up.
On that note, we will see you next week as we talk about another movie. All right.